What's up? Noted NASCAR insider Holden Kushner hanging out with three guys that I'm going to try and teach some stuff to today with the Daytona 500. Of course, racing tomorrow, 4 o'clock Eastern time. If you're here on Monday, tomorrow is today. Today is live, though, on Sunday. Rubio Dimes, Statsational, and, of course, Big T hanging out today. I'm excited. We got our NASCAR package out there. That's a little bit different. Wonderful to see Stats again. I was doing a show late last night. He came on. Yeah, I got to find that picture, by the way. If you
it's awesome.
Listen, how many likes do we need to get Stats' bullshit
Dude, you just have to
AI
go on,
picture?
You just have to go on on my LinkedIn.
Don't tell him. I'm going to put this up here, dude. I'm
going
going
to put the LinkedIn picture.
I put it. So I just changed it. Let me give the background.
You got to see this thing, Tony.
So they have this AI thing.
Of course I saw it.
Of course you saw it. Yeah. They have an AI.
Yeah.
No, they have this AI where if you give it like a selfie picture, it'll turn it into a LinkedIn picture. I'm like, let me check this out. It was the greatest picture of all time. I'm like, I got to put it on my LinkedIn.
You're going to
get
all
used to work, but they're like,
offers.
man, John's been working out, huh?
No, I got to put this up here now.
Awesome.
This thing is so ridiculous. Rubio, you have never seen a more handsome man than you're about, and it's totally not him.
It's what I aspire to be.
Yeah, this is our big betting guy. Hold on a second here. Let me see if I can find your picture. It's too good.
You should have seen.
Here we go. I got it for you. I got it.
It's basically Wiley.
Let me get out of this too. This stupid thing. Here we go.
It's Wiley.
Boom. Does that look like that, Tony?
Yeah, my hair. It's
that's exactly how I visualize.
He's got no wrinkles. He's like perfectly gray.
Get back to my picture. I have no wrinkles at all, man.
In real life, you don't have any wrinkles.
No, I don't have any wrinkles.
I think it looks realistic, honestly.
Oh my God.
I put that up. That's up on the fridge, and that's been inspiring me to work out harder in the gym, man.
Yeah, well, it's total bullshit, and I don't believe it. Rubio, talk to me, my friend. How are you? Wonderful to hang out with you today. People just rolling in, so we won't get to the big breakdown for a little bit, but I know we got a little different way. We're giving our racing package out this year, $20 a week, $60 a month. What do they get with our racing plan?
Yeah, I mean, the racing plan is the racing package is what it's called. Is you get F1, NASCAR, we got projections, we got playbooks.
I love how you lead with F1 too. You led with F1.
Oh, I got the Mercedes jacket behind me. That's my true calling. But we got every racing package that we have. We cover every series. We got everything from top to bottom. We have ownership projections. We got projections themselves. We have Big T absolutely stunting on Friday with, what was it, 32 big ones.
He was doing what?
Stunting. He stunted. He stunted to the top of the leaderboard, didn't he?
Stunting, yes.
I got some good rec equity at the end. I got screwed, so like everyone does when you play NASCAR. You always remember the bad ones. I finally got a good one in my favor, baby. He wrecked the whole field for me. It made it even funnier, though, because I sent Rubio the text that said that guy was going to win me all the money, and then he just crashes the whole field.
It's a good question here. Does Rubio love WNBA or F1 more?
That's an excellent question.
It's F1. It's definitely F1. I'll watch F1 all day.
He literally studied NASCAR the last 4. He watched every interview, every practice. He's done nothing but NASCAR the last 4 days.
Good.
I don't even think he's got work pants, man. I think it was just NASCAR.
Yeah, we just want to grind. We got the All-Star game tonight. I got the media day, all the interviews lined up for the NBA All-Star game tonight that we have projections for. I just want to see who's going to give effort. But NASCAR especially F1, all those paddock interviews and everything that you love, like, those create an edge. We're trying to get that edge here at Run Pure Sports. And, those projections are a direct reflection of our work and of what I want to have out there too. So I trust that you're going to get 100% effort no matter the race, no matter if it's just Daytona or if it's Atlanta next week or if it's in the middle of the summer. We're going to get you all covered, every single sport from top to bottom, but especially racing.
This is what I told Stats and Rubio before the show started. Right there, dude. I'm not from Compton, but
also you don't look like you're from Compton.
Nope, very white. My lighting makes me look even whiter, but it's a great look if you ask me. That's all I can say. This is the way you dress when you talk NASCAR. This is the way I dress when I talk NASCAR, guys. Nobody else on this panel has done shows with Greg Biffle, okay? That is my NASCAR resume right there.
Greg
That's a
Biffle.
solid resume.
Greg
There you go.
Rubio, have you ever heard of him?
Oh yeah, of course I have. Was he in the 16 right stats? The 16.
I have no idea. I've
Yeah.
20
The only-
that's 20 years ago.
The only guy I'd be more impressed with it was what was his name? Dick Trickle.
Dick Trickle.
Dick Trickle. We
There's
still say
another
that
one.
every time we're golfing. We still, like, if you leave it short and it's like trickling towards the hole, we always say Dick Trickle. Still to this day.
I love it. Dick Trickle, dude.
Yeah, every time a putt's rolling towards the hole, we say it.
Wonderful. 2 Bushes, no Johnson. We got that going on today. So we have that. We just talked about our racing package, Rubio. Wonderful job. We're postponed till tomorrow at 4:00. Monday at 4:00. Third time in the race's history.
Is the weather good tomorrow? Like, is it any worries tomorrow?
Stats is like 200 miles away, but he keeps telling us he's right where he needs to be. So please,
Dude.
Stats.
Yeah, it is about 200 miles away, but I'm getting the same rain, man. It's just been pouring over here all across Central Florida, so it's been bad. You know, not very typical for February. But
Are we gonna race tomorrow? They pushed it back late enough in the day where they will.
tomorrow, I mean, the last I looked at it, yeah, it looked like the afternoon was pretty clear, so I think we'll be good to go.
Yeah, it's been wild too because they didn't have a rain out one single time from 59 to 2011. 1959 to 2011. Then all 3 postponements have come since 2012. Joey Logano's going to be in the poll for Team Penske when things start. I want to remind you one more time, if you haven't gotten in, race package, $20 a week, $60 a month. Rubio already told you what you got, and I'll tell you again if you forget. Congrats on that 32K hit. And then congrats on Volk. I did not know that you owned me last night in the MMA streets, but congratulations. Apone is not happy about that either. Way to go, Tony.
Neither was. I always know that it goes good when Rubio sends me a tilt text after it's over. He says something about me whooping his ass, and then I get in there and feel good.
Did you send him a text, Rubio?
I don't remember what I wrote back. I might have said I owned him or something. I forget.
He got first place. He didn't even mention it, but he got first place in a bunch of single entries last night in MMA. But not the trucks race. You know, I was up there. You know, Big T wasn't even in the picture. You know,
you definitely got a bad run out. I'll say when you got unlucky.
They were right there behind us. We had RPS logos up the entire trucks race. You were nowhere in the picture, and you're
First of all, I just gave you credit. Now you're exaggerating because I was up money the whole race. And you're acting like I was like that. I wasn't. To be fair, in our other chat, everyone was like, "Let's root for Rubio." I was rooting for you. Full disclosure, I was rooting for you.
We've got receipts.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, when I went up there, though, I had to shift and start rooting for myself. Obviously,
it was getting active. I was out. I couldn't watch the race. I was out, and everyone's like, "Oh, RPS is just dominating at the top. Rubio's got this." And I'm like, "All right, let's go." And then I got off it. I came back. And I'm like, oh shit, Big T wanted it. Big T wasn't even, he didn't even think he had a shot.
Stat correction, too. The dude was in second after the race.
It's the best. I love it when it's the Rubio more than anything, too, because I know it just hurts him in the soul.
Poor Rubio. There's one guy's feelings you don't want to hurt at RPS. It's Rubio.
It happened in that showdown that every Run Pure member, like the Giants-Dallas game 2 years ago, where everybody had the team from the show, and we literally, because it was a kicker captain, and it was that night where we won all the money. But what people don't remember, Rubio was in first before that last kick, and then the whole Run Pure train just went right over him.
For 392K, right?
Oh, Rubio!
I thought, the kick won't hurt me. You know, I didn't know they had this massive fucking train behind me. Captain. Oh, that was the worst beat. Oh,
so everybody chopped like $1,500 in a piece.
Not like less than that even. I make jokes, but it is brutal when that happens the other way. It's happened to me plenty, so that's why I can laugh about it.
We're saving it for the Millie Maker this tomorrow now, not this Sunday, this Monday. So that's
in all seriousness, though, what Rubio and Stats too have done with this, like I trust this so much, and there's nothing better than feeling like you have an edge in niche stuff. Millie Maker. I know we have a legitimate chance. What does that mean? Any chance to win a Millie Maker for Daytona, what's better than that? I mean, I trust the package with everything, so I can't wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, we got the Xfinity race at 11. We got the Daytona 500 at 4, and we can get into this thing right now, boys. Let's get going. Like button would be wonderful. Show everybody some love. We're giving you some free information for the biggest race of the year. So I'll start with this question, and Rubio, I'll start with you first. Do the best drivers always win the Daytona 500?
Oh, not at all. I mean, what was it? Ricky Stenhouse last year won it. And, yeah, he's good. He's good. But plate racing's different. Stats is really good at breaking stuff like this down. But, anyone has a chance almost. Like, you look at the odds. What is it? The furthest odds, 8-1, right? Or that's the heaviest odds on a favorite. That just shows you how spread out this field is going to be. Anyone can win. It doesn't really matter where you're starting. Logano got the pole this week, and he's happy about it. It's what you said, the first pole in Penske team history, right? He's going to lead the line at Daytona. There's merit to it, right? There's benefits, but ultimately, Kyle Busch from the back at 34 is going to have no issue getting involved in the front of the pack at all. So anyone can win. Doesn't have to be the best drivers to win. And hell, we saw it in the trucks race the other day. Guys like Brett Holmes and Spencer Boyd getting into the top 10 with ease. Brett Holmes has a decent amount of talent and stuff, but bad cars can finish in the top 10. It just matters how you stay in the draft, how you avoid the wrecks, and ultimately just, can you get a good score up there, especially for fantasy?
Hey, Stats, are the drivers who are best at avoiding the accidents more likely to win? Can you even be a driver like that?
You can be. I mean, we've seen it. But yeah, that's number one, is basically staying out of the wrecks. And that's who are going to be in the DFS winning lineup. So mission one, stay out of the wrecks, which is why the guys from the back there, if they could get all the way to the finish, run all the laps, they wind up being in the optimal lineups, because you're going to get wrecks. You may only get 15 to 20 cars that actually finish the race. So if you start in the 30s, that's why you're going to see 2, 3, even 4 guys maybe start back in the 30s that wind up in the optimal lineup. But that's going to be the key. And in a race if you're not used to Daytona and you're not used to these restricted plate type of races, certainly when it gets down to the end, like you guys were talking about the trucks, I didn't get to see it, but when we were chatting about it, there was 9 laps to go. I go, 9 laps, especially with the trucks. I'm like, 9 laps to go. There's 10 more wrecks left in the race. So you guys, we can't even start cheering yet. I was at Daytona, I believe it was 2 years ago, with JBC, and we're getting met. The internet was terrible, so it was hard to follow our lineups. And we're getting messages with 2 laps to go. They're like, "You guys are winning $1 million," and I'm like, "Oh, now we got something to root for." That was, I don't even know how far away we finished with 2. After leading with 2 laps to go, we were way out because you get wrecks at the end. So it's the fun of it. You're really never out of it at Daytona from a DFS standpoint, and even from a driver standpoint, you have a shot to win, because what happens once they get in those lines? I mean, you go from 10th, 12th, 13th, and you can win this thing with the wreck in the right spot, because those lines, one moves a lot quicker than the outside's moving quicker than the inside, and you pick up a ton of spots. So that's what makes it fun. It's great for the fans. The drivers, I don't know how much they enjoy it, but they love winning at Daytona.
Hey, Tony, so we got Richie Smalls here. He's a big RPS guy. First time jumping in the NASCAR streets. Best place for winners. Any type of advice you can give Richie heading into his first NASCAR DFS contest?
Yeah, keep that horseshoe in the old backside, because you need to figure out how to run pure, as they say. Because like Stats just said, I mean, I genuinely don't. I know Rubio sweats every lap because he loves doing that shit, but I see no reason to look before. Like Stats said, you can literally. I mean, this has happened. We've played every race for the last couple of years. You could literally be in first on the last lap, and you're still not comfortable, because usually they're racing harder up front. So your guys that are getting you to first, they're racing harder, so they got a better I mean, how many times have we had the guy in first and second, and then they crash each other, go all the way back, and you go from winning a ton of money to freaking nothing? And it happens, but it can go the other way too. Just like the other night, my guy wrecks, I move up. That's what makes it fun. You have to know going in, though, that for one, you're probably not going to get 6 guys through clean, which is fine. And for 2, you're never dead. It's what's fun about it. You're rooting for crashes. And every time there's a huge 12-car pileup, you're just hoping you don't see your guy on the list that gets the. I mean, by the end of the race, there's going to be 14 guys totally out of the race type thing, at least, maybe more, some years more. So I think it's a lot of fun. I love it. You just have to know, though, you're not playing guys up front. And I think a lot of people know this now. So before, it could be you could play all guys in the 30s and have a huge edge. Now I think a lot of people do know that with all the content and stuff. But there's still edge out there. I mean, you can find a guy up front, which is a good way to kind of break down this race. Maybe you play one guy up front or one guy in the teens even. It's all about roster construction at a place like Daytona for sure. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I love this race. And the Xfinity's tomorrow too, which also is a lot of fun. So don't forget about that.
This is what blew my mind. Past 8 Daytonas, 4 last lap passes for the lead. For that, there'd been 9 and 57 events. So 31 cars have been involved in crashes in the past 7 Daytona 500. 31. I mean, how the hell do you sift through that, Rubio, to try and find a win? Our stats. You want?
No, but it's not even. We haven't even had that crazy of Daytona in the last couple of years. Like, it's actually been relatively calm as to historically. I don't know if it has anything to do with the new cars in the last couple of years. I don't really think it does. I think we just got lucky. I don't know, but it hasn't even been as crazy as it can be. So we'll see how they go tomorrow with that. And I mean, the total on lead. Put it this way: it's 15.5 is the total for drivers to lead a lap.
Ooh.
That's the total. So, I mean, that's half. It's a little less than half the field, obviously. So, but that's a big number. You're not going to get that at other tracks. I mean, other tracks you could get, 2-3 drivers may lead the entire day. And some guys almost go wire to wire. So, that's what you could expect here at Daytona. That's why it's a lot of fun.
Would you go over or under 15.5 liters, Rubio?
Oh, I'd probably take the over. I mean, you have a little bit of strategy here and there too. I mean, if you get a long green flag run, especially where these guys can be cycling through the pits, I mean, that would matter a lot, right? If you ran like 80 laps clean, I don't know what the stage of 60, I imagine. So 60 laps clean, like you're going to have pit stops in there. That can easily cycle through like 4 or 5 leaders right there, and it would be 4 or 5 unlikely leaders because obviously they're going to be pitting with their teams and manufacturers or whatever strategy that we kind of saw in the duels just a bit, but. It's interesting. I mean, just talking about dominator points and everything like that, like fastest laps are also just something that are just going to be screaming through the entire field. Like the car in the back, right? It could be like Riley Herbst, for example, could easily have like 4 or 5 fastest laps tomorrow. And that's just the way that this race is. Like I would fancy the over. Maybe fancy.
Did you say fancy the over?
Fancy over, absolutely. I'd court that over.
Fancy.
That's F1 talk. That's not NASCAR talk, man.
Fancy. Who uses that word fancy? Give me a break, Rubio. All right, so I put it on scroll in the bottom. RPS Racing Package, $20 a week, $60 a month. Let me do a little screen share here. It's obviously going to be a complete debacle because I have to, work with the overlays and stuff like this. But we'll go with this, and then I want to share exactly what you're getting when you sign up for our package. So you obviously get a ton of core plays and you get everything else like that, Rubio. But here, this is just you here, right? And this is today. So you go through every single racer. You start at the top, you go to the bottom. We got Rubio, Matty Ice, Big T. Who am I forgetting? Rubio.
JBC.
Who?
JBC.
Oh my God, he's really gonna be upset at me now. So JBC, and you get. You see here under the field, slam. I don't know what slam means. That means slam them in your lineup. Core, field, fade, all that stuff, Rubio. Real quick rundown of this, and let's get into it.
Yeah, so basically, we're going to go through price tiers, it sounds like here. And one thing that you can note is that anyone in the top 10, I am really going to be either fading or underweight on. That's just the way Daytona is, right? Won't be that way in Atlanta next week. But for Daytona, we saw Nick Sanchez. I believe he started 6th in that trucks race on Friday. And he was not in the winner, and he won the race. So it's really hard, especially if you expect any bit of carnage, like at all. If you expect 20 cars to finish, well, a lot of these guys in the back are going to get there and score more than Danny Hamlin, even if he wins. But Hamlin has a little bit better shot. But guys who I'm fading, like guys like Chase Elliott and Joey Logano and stuff. I mean, those guys starting inside the top 5 there, it's just really tough for them to get there, right? Slam means I'm going well over the field or just even above the field just in general. I really like them as plays. Field kind of even with the field in terms of ownership. And then core, you obviously saw it there. I believe it was Kyle Busch up top, starting from the back. Going to have a quick car. Going to have no trouble getting into the top 15, top 10. Just needs to stay out of the wrecks to really be optimal. But again, it's Daytona. It's a lottery in that sense. Obviously, if he doesn't avoid the wrecks, you're going to have 50% of the field not dead, but they'll be not having a chance of that first place $1 million. That's for sure.
We did have some wrecks here recently. Stats. There are some drivers running with backup cars, right? So talk to me about the impact of that.
I mean, Blaney's probably the most notable, but I don't think it mattered. I think he, from what I heard, he was so confident, like he didn't, he wasn't even worried about running any practice laps or anything like that. So I'm not worried about that, about Blaney at all. And Blaney's just really, really good at these speedways. So not worried about the backup cars at all. I mean, equipment matters, obviously. I think it matters the least at a track like Daytona because of the amount of the luck factor. The equipment at some of these other tracks, the shorter tracks, it means a whole lot more. So I think driver has a lot to do with it. You've seen historically, you've seen some just guys who are restrictor plate type of experts, or that's kind of what they do. And they come in just for these races and they do well. They sit in the back. They don't have the fastest car. They sit back there. They avoid the wrecks. And then when it's all said and done, they find themselves in the top 10. So that's kind of how the veterans can maneuver. The guys who are really good at this type of racing can maneuver around the track. So yeah, I think it's important. Obviously, you want the best equipment. I think the Toyotas have looked really well, good this week. Fords are always good at the speedways, but not as significant, I don't think, here as maybe some other tracks.
All right, Rubio, let's get into this. And what we're going to do is break these down by price tiers on DK. What's
do
up,
it different. I know I'm throwing you off, but
are you fucking kidding me? We're in the middle of the show.
So much better to go by starting position for Daytona.
Oh my God.
It's so much better than going by.
You couldn't just send me a note. Just, hey, dude.
I mean, I want to test you on the fly here. Because the price range just doesn't matter
on the fly. I spent like 4 hours researching a show that I would usually take me about 2 minutes.
That was not a good move.
Why not? I should just show up and not do anything. I even dressed the part to look like a NASCAR driver today.
That was also not successful.
Why?
I'm going to take blame for it because Holden asked me, and I said,
"No, I mean, if you think it's
just do whatever you want, Holden." That's what I basically told him.
That's what I said. Do whatever you want. Screw you, Tony. You can talk about it whatever way you want.
Nothing matters at Daytona except starting position, so it makes sense to just go front to back.
All right, so here, just throwing all my notes out, Rubio, and I'm just
can go the other way if I'm the only one.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Tony wants to come on, sabotage the Daytona show. We'll just do that. We'll call him Ricky. Yeah, he is Ricky Bobby. That's who we got. Ricky Bobby down there in the corner today, sabotaging their RPS show. That's what you get with our RPS package too. Big T will just show up one day. He'll be calling you. He'll be texting you saying, "Don't do it. We'll just do it a different way." Logano, McDowell. Is this how you want to do it, Rubio? Just turn it into a total shit show because of the big man. Logano, McDowell, Reddick, Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott. Please give me a little breakdown of the 1 through 5.
Yeah, I mean, you just look through the top 5, and honestly, Holden, I'm gonna throw another curveball. Let's just do the top 10 real quick because I think
he's right though. BG3 says he's right though.
I mean, only at Daytona. Other races are restrictor play, but any normal race, yeah, go price range. But Daytona, it's so much better of a way to talk about.
Right, I'll remember that next year. And thank you, Rubio, for not telling me exactly how to do this. I'm actually blaming you, Rubio.
I'll take the blame there, right? You go through starting.
And if anyone wants to follow along too, like any members, pull it up. I just sorted the playbook. The Daytona playbook by 1 through 40 or whatever it is. It's easy to navigate with our new system because you can see only Rubio and Maddie have it up right now. Me and JBC don't have it up yet, but it's easy to navigate down what I'm talking about. Like you'll see a bunch of fades or unders, and then it slowly works up to guys we like.
All right, Rubio, do not do top 10. Just do the top 5. Let me try and keep an eye on what the hell's going on here.
Shipping on it. That's how you keep it. That's how
Tony's driving right turns. I'm doing left turns. It's just a debacle. Top 5. Do it for us, Rubio.
So my take here, unless this race somehow runs clean, which I don't think it ever will, is that I'm fading the top 5. I don't care. I know Logano has talent, right? If Logano comes out, leads 40 laps, which would be very high, right, and wins this race, there's a decent chance that he's still not optimal. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's the nature of the beast. And McDowell, he's really good, right? Reddick, really good on these restrictor plates. Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott. These guys are good racers. I'm not going to tell you they're not. But at the end of the day, if they get first, they still have a very strong chance of not being in the winner. And that's the ultimate take there. Fading all 5 to the top 5.
All right, so stats, I'm looking at it here. Chase Elliott, 18 career wins, 0 for 8 in Daytona. He finished second, I think, in 2021 it was. What do you think of these top 5 cars? Is it a fade too?
You have to fade it. Let's put it this way. Start with the poll. There's only been one guy in the DFS era who's been able to be in the optimal starting at the pole, and that was Junior, right? And he's one of those guys who's a restricted plate guy. So, I mean, as good as Logano is, you just can't play it. I think it's a total fade. And then if you just go to the top, the first 2 rows, the top 4 guys, there's only been 3. Blaney was one of them, who, again, just a great restricted plate racer, and Junior was the other 2. So Junior did it twice coming out of it. So you don't have him here. And so I really think you could just totally fade the first 4, first 5. We've had a couple of guys in the top who started 5th being the optimal, but certainly if you're playing one lineup, I mean, you just have to punt that. Potentially in a 150 MME type of situation, maybe you sprinkle in a couple of these, but even so, I think when you're running the when you're running the optimizer, I think you just go ahead and total fade on these guys.
All right, Tony, let's get to you here. If you want to go 1 through 10, by all means, go for it. Is this a fade for you up top?
Love that you give me that option instead of Rubio. That made me feel good right there.
It wasn't to make you feel good. It's just so I could get your shit out of the way so I don't have to deal with it for an extra few minutes.
So I thought the great point Stats brought up. Like if you're playing one, I think literally 98% of our people play 1 to 5 or 10 teams. If you're doing that, I think it's like insanely easy just to fade. Even Hamlin, a lot of people will play Hamlin a little bit. He'll probably I bet he ends up double-digit owned inside the top 10 just because he's been so good at these type of races. So if you're telling me Hamlin starting 8th is like 10% or low in that 10% range, I think he's a very good fade too. And I mean, you can play him just because he's so good, but if you're playing 150, though, is where it gets a little interesting just because everyone just fades all 10 of these guys now. You definitely don't want much, but I'd be okay with maybe just a sliver of some of these guys in your 150. Oh, even in 20 max, I wouldn't do it. Just a sliver in the 150, just in case. I always bring up the football example at times, though, because we had a few members this year, and I had the one football where you have that guy you don't like, and he's just still in there in the player pool. And you just never know when Alex Bowman somehow wins this race and he's 2% owned and he wins it and is optimal. And you just don't have to beat that many teams. So, but in general, I mean, I'm not playing anyone inside the top 10. And it really shouldn't even be in question.
Rubio, I think you're there too. I'm seeing a lot of fades on the playbook with you. Let's go through the top 10 then.
Yeah, I mean, I get the point with, like, we got good racers, like Cindric, Bowman, Hamlin. I think those 3, if you really wanted to sprinkle it. But at the same time, if you're doing single entry, 3 entry max, anything like that, like Big T said, don't risk it, right? The juice isn't worth the squeeze then. But the one guy, Denny Hamlin, would be the one where, he's got, the best odds to win this race. I think he's 8 to 1. If he gets in the winner, it wouldn't be as shocking if he was in the optimal as it would for a guy like Logano or McDowell starting in the top row, right, the front row. But I'll tell you 2 guys I really don't want. Just Carson Hocevar, that dude is a wrecking ball back in the last year, just in the lower series. This dude would always cause wrecks and stuff. So
he might be the easiest fade of all time in this race.
That's not sharp or anything, but if there's someone who's going to cause a wreck, I'm going to pick Carson Hocevar in this pack here. That he's going to create some noise, might be a little overly aggressive. John Hunter Nemechek, I'm kind of glad to see him starting inside the top 10 because he had a really good race in the duels. He did very well. But he's another guy. It's inexperience at this level where, you're in this new equipment, you're in this new car. Same with Hocevar in a sense too, where it's just going to be tough to adapt. And like your first race being the big one, in Daytona 500, like it's not the best for me. I think I'm just going to stay away from those 2 guys there and maybe just a sprinkle of Hamlin, Bowman, and Cindric. But I think I
got a question for the race guys too, Stats and Rubio or whatever. So sometimes when these dudes get, like right now we have the starting list. When say Hamlin gets pushed to the back for whatever, are these locked in now, or at what point are they locked in?
Yeah, it's locked in. If anyone gets moved to the back, it's totally meaningless.
He would still be graded from 8th no matter what right now.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, it is
not that it matters here anyway.
Totally meaningless at this track. As a matter of fact, it's probably an advantage to some of these guys because some of these guys want to they want to go to the back anyway because they feel like they're a little bit better at avoiding. You either want to be up front to avoid the wrecks or you want to be in the back. And then up front becomes more dangerous as you get down to the wire because that's when they just start bumping each other from behind and whatnot. But for the most part of the race, being up front, you should be safe from getting in a wreck. And then the smart guys who kind of start in the that's why starting in the middle is so difficult. You start in that 8 to 20 range. That's where all the wrecks happen. The guys who start way back can avoid the wrecks because they happen in the middle of the pack. And that's why you get a lot of these guys from the 30s up move on. So you'll see some of the smarter guys. Truex in the past has done this. We'll get to him later, but like just kind of move to the back of the pack and hope that you could avoid everything and then be there for the last few laps.
All right. Let's get to our next tier here, and I'll just go through these guys' stats. Cindric, Bowman, Hamlin, Hocevar, Hunter Nemechek, and of course we had BG3. Hocevar causes the first wreck. Can you bet on that? Can you bet on who causes the first wreck?
I don't think
I honestly think he's just going to drop back. Like, I don't think he's going to crash early.
Yeah, unless it's a really tough start to the unless he doesn't get off the blocks too quickly and they back up right off the start, but probably not. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, he probably does go back in the pack and then just becomes a non-factor for most of the race. But I don't think that's bettable. Only because how would you because sometimes
how do you determine it?
Yeah, sometimes they're
hard. And then
if
somebody dies, they'd probably feel bad for offering it.
If somebody dies.
Yeah, there's been well, we've had that happen here.
I know.
Yeah.
It's been a while though. When's the last time?
Yeah.
Was it Earnhardt?
It was was that 2001?
Long time ago.
A lot of bad things happened in 2001.
It was that was a rough one, but
yeah.
Well, the Newman wreck was unbelievable.
Oh, God. I don't know how he's. There was one
amazing.
last year. I don't know how the guy survived. Where he went like totally up and was like that.
They usually don't flip anymore. Yeah, they don't flip much anymore because they've got those wings that come up on the that kind of keep them down. Like when they. But yeah, that was once they flipped. That was like the old days, man. They used to flip all the time. But yeah, that was scary last year, or not last year, but a couple of years ago when it was.
Do you want to talk about the next 5 guys that I just mentioned? Those stats. We can go Jones, Burton, Suarez, Smith, and well, no, that's not it. That's Hunter Nemechek, Hocevar, Hamlin, Bowman, Cindric.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Hamlin the favorite. I think for GPPs, I think you do want to sprinkle him in again, single entry lineup, maybe not. Hocevar, again, that's an easy fade. Cindric's great at these types of. We've got a lot of guys up in the top 10 who are really good at driving restricted plates. So I'm not going to be shocked if one of them do make their way in. But I think really of these top 10, you can. I think Logano for sure. You have to throw out. McDowell you throw out, Reddick you throw out. Basically the top 4 you're going to throw out. Chase Elliott I would probably throw out as well. And then maybe you start looking at having one of the guys in the 6 through 10, and Hocevar is not going to be one of them. Probably not Nemechek either. So I think you're just looking at the guys 6, 7, and 8 here. If you wanted to sprinkle someone in the top 10, I think those would be your choices to maybe get a little different from the field.
All right. Like button would be wonderful. We'd really appreciate that. This is a chance for us to pump our product too. So I'm definitely going to take the opportunity to do that. RPS racing package, a little different this year, $20 a week. So if you just want to get into the race, dip your toes in the water, go for it. $60 a month, $60 a month. You're not going to find a better deal in the business. And stats, I'm still upset at you guys. I don't know why you're only charging $50 a month for the bet side. Like this is a $500 product. And I say this all the time. When are you guys going to up the price already? You can grandfather the people in, but when are you upping the price already? This is just stupid.
I think it's just laziness, man. I think we're just
general laziness. Yeah, that's the type of guy that I want to go after when I'm
we're more
bet.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, though,
business side is not. You got a bunch of guys who like live for the DFS and the betting,
right?
And then the business side just kind of goes like by the wayside.
Wonderful business model.
Yeah, it's a great business model.
Yeah, big fan of that business model, Tony. Wonderful. Rubio, stop doing little footsies with your girlfriend on the phone, with your fiance. Let's get into, this next slate of racers here. Eric Jones, Burton, Suarez, Zane Smith, 11 through 15, Ty Gibbs. And Burton is a guy that you'll be in on the field, right?
Yeah, Burton's a good racer. I mean, he was up there in the duels for a little bit too. Like, I like him on these type of tracks, and even Jones was leading the pack there in the duels too. I mean, these guys have enough talent, and they're not going to be high owned. Like, these guys are going to be like 5% owned or so. Like, they don't have the name recognition at all. They're going to kind of just come in and just kind of under owned, I would say, just because they have potential. They can definitely get like a top 5. I mean, it wouldn't even shock me to see a guy like Eric Jones win. But out of this group between like 11 through 15, like Ty Gibbs is the one where he's got the equipment, he's got the talent, he's got the cojones to be able to kind of win this race. And I do like Gibbs just in general this year. I think he's going to take a step forward. It's not exactly like cut and dry where he's going to do it at Daytona, but I do know that I'll be playing him a lot this season. And Daytona starting at 15th, probably around like 10% ownership. Definitely going to be interested there. The only guy I don't really have any interest in between 11 and 15 is Zane Smith. I mean, starting 14th, great. Had a great truck last year too. Did very, very well in the truck series and did well in the duel even. But ultimately, it's like I said, my same concerns are like Hofsvar and Nemechek. Just it's new equipment, right? It's a new experience, and I don't love that in your first race being at Daytona 500. It's not for me at 14.
All right, stats. I'm looking at Suarez at 13. He's 6,900. We've got some of these guys. Zane Smith is in this price tier as well. So talk to me, 11 through 15.
Yeah, I agree with Rubio. I mean, on Zane Smith, I think you just kind of toss him out. The thing, Ty Gibbs at 15 is interesting. Now, he hasn't had a lot of good showings in recent speedway races, so he hasn't been able to finish a lot of these races recently, but the equipment's going to be good. Listen, he's driving for Granddaddy Joe Gibbs. He's going to put him in good equipment. He wants him to win, especially here. And I think he's one of the better drivers. So it's just a matter of experience at this point. But I think he has winning potential. He looked good in the duels, and then got himself in a little bit of trouble. So that's sort of been the MO here, where he's gotten himself in trouble. If he stays clean, I think he can contend to win. And the Toyotas are obviously pretty good this week. I think Eric Jones is another guy at 11 who's definitely live, runs real well. He was another guy who looked pretty good, I thought, at the duels, and can easily contend to win. And I think there's, outside of Zane Smith, I think all of these guys have, I particularly like Jones and Gibbs, but I think even Burton and Suarez have a chance here to be in the winning lineup and be optimal. So I mean, you've seen at speedways, Suarez has done well. I'm just trying to see his last at Talladega. He had an 11. Daytona, he had a 7. He finished 7th in the top 10 here. So he's had several top 10 finishes at speedways in his last like 5 or 6 trips. So he could get up there and potentially be optimal. But I think with a chance to win at this range, Eric Jones has a chance to win, and I think Ty Gibbs has a chance to win.
All right, let's go through 11 to 20 for you, Tony, so you can get the next tier off too. We talked about Jones, Burton, Suarez, Smith, Gibbs, Keselowski, Larson's. There's some names that are popping up now. William Byron, Chase Briscoe, and then Buescher, who is just returning because he had a birth of his child. So he'll be a little bit tired, but he'll be a little happy. He'll have a little adrenaline. What do you want to do in this 11 through 20 range?
Yeah, so I actually think it's a pretty big difference between 11 to 15 and 16 to 20.
Okay.
Because 11 to 15 still seems pretty dead to me. I mean, like Burton, Suarez, Zane. I like Zane probably more than these guys, and that means literally like 5% though. Like, I'm not saying I'm going crazy on him, but I wouldn't be stunned if he somehow slides in there. Just, I put him in the same bucket as Burton and Suarez, honestly. I mean, they're 55, 65, 80 to 1. Very similar plays. But 1 through 15, I want no more than 1. But I won't be surprised if one of these guys like Gibbs sneaks in there. I just don't love this range. Like, no one does, though. I mean, no one's talking up this range. But I think you're just light there. But I actually like 16 to 20 a decent amount. Like Kaz, Larson, Byron, Buescher, and Briscoe. I feel like all 5 of these guys, well, Briscoe's probably a little bit of a tear down, but I mean, you got 4 guys that could win this race, also going to be less than 20% owned. I think this is kind of a key range. And honestly, I might put it into my rule because I had 1 max. So I might do 1 max from 1 to 15 and then 1 min 1 to 20. so that I get one guy in the top 20, because I still don't want to go crazy, but I do feel like a lot of people get themselves off the nuts in this race just by playing all guys in the back, which is definitely the floor way to do it. I just don't think, I mean, it's a milli maker tomorrow. Everyone wants to win $1 million. To win $1 million, you're going to need a Zane Smith or something in there, or a Suarez or these guys. And you just got to know how to do it with SaberSim, like we got on the site, or whatever optimizer you use. Set some rules to really get you in there. And I like the 16 through 20 range a lot more than the guys before it, but still don't want to go crazy. My favorite in this range, I think, is Keselowski, which is weird for me because I don't usually like him, but him and Reagan, I know that that's a weird combo to put together, but I like both of those guys a lot. And so Kez is my favorite one so far. Like I said, 1 min, 1 through 20, and 1 max, 1 through 15. For those of you that don't know, very simple. I want one of those guys on all my teams I make in the top 20. So that's how I feel about this range.
David Porter, the manager of Walmart in Daytona, he lives 6 to 7 miles from the track, and everybody goes into his Walmart, Rubio. So I'm excited. He's got inside intel for us.
You know, you glossed over this one as Malcolm in the middle in the race.
I never watched Malcolm in the middle, so I really didn't get
it. Muniz, whatever the fuck you pronounce it. He's in
like
the Xfinity race, the star character of Malcolm in the Middle. He's starting 37th in the Xfinity race. Can't believe you glossed over that one.
Excuse me?
Okay, all right.
Are you being serious, or are you busting balls right now?
He was the Hollywood actor, turned race car driver.
Stats, this sounds like an amazing story I've glossed over.
I mean, it's I think we gave it about as much time as we need to.
Good. Thank you. My man, Stats. All right, Rubio, your turn. Tony likes the 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 range. How much exposure you got here?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely just place a bet on 16 through 19, especially. Even Chase Briscoe as a wheelman, I like him. But you got Keselowski, Larson, Byron, Busher, all within 22 or to 1 or better. And
I honestly think I would pick this range to win, just to win the race. If I had to pick a range of any range,
yeah, and that's why it's intriguing. Like when people hear you say, "Oh, creating a rule to have 1 through 20," obviously that's going to hurt your floor a little bit in terms of what you can return. But what it's going to do is going to help your upside, right? Like, look, I get it. I always want to play the back. I definitely.
We all do. Like it's the way to do it.
Like these are 4 just extremely good drivers, and like any of these guys can win this race, and any of these guys are worth their weight in gold.
And when they win it, they're going to be optimal.
Yep, they're starting far enough back, and even a top 5, and they have a chance to be optimal in this range. It's not like they're starting inside the top 10 or anything. Like, a top 5 for Busher is 14 place differential points. It's upwards of 54 points or whatever. If just doing quick math, like that's probably enough at times. And I do love this range. I do think that, making sure that you have guys in this range is important. Like, it's not something that you really want to be underweight on because they all have the talent to make you pay. It is interesting, though, because, name recognition goes a long way. But, like, a guy like Chase Briscoe is going to be, 4 or 5% less than these guys ahead of him. I like Briscoe's talent. He's obviously in decent equipment. I mean, Stewart Haas Racing, that is just a disaster of a team just in terms of talent. But Briscoe, he's probably their best driver. And, 60 to 1 is a long odds. But, like, he's another guy. It wouldn't shock me to get, like, a top 10. He's going to come in lower owned. And I think he's got enough talent to push it into the top 5.
All right, we're going to move on to the next tier. I'm going to go right back at you, Rubio, okay? 21 through 25. Chastain, Haley, Jimmy Johnson, Bubba Wallace.
Let our boy Stats, who was our anchor, talk about
Don't
that.
worry about it. He already talked about it.
Let me just jump one thing in there, just from a statistical standpoint, where this range is finished. So 16 through 20 has only been optimal 5% of the time, believe it or not. So it has not been a great range. And then all the way from 11 to 20, only 16% of the time hasn't hit the optimal. Now that's
Tony, take
historical.
The flip side to that is, as I was going to say, they don't always have 4 really good drivers in that range.
Yes,
too.
and I totally agree with Tony. So I do think you could get some. We could get some leverage on the field in that 16 to 20 range. I don't disagree. And you got teammates. 4 of those guys. There's 2 teammates with RFK, and
Kessler Kez and Busher.
Yeah, exactly. So they're going to be,
Byron.
and you've got Larson and Byron with Hendrick. So I think, potentially that's a good spot for them to be where they could maybe team up early and hopefully keep themselves out of trouble.
Love your guys' content. What do you think of steak?
I love steak.
Me too.
I also love steak.
I'm a big filet guy. People say, "Oh, filet, it's not the taste." I think it's tasty. It's tender.
I mean, filet is steak.
The filet is just tender. It's just
filet
not,
is the delicious.
that's
to
not
me,
delicious.
it's the most delicious.
It's tender. It's not the most. Ribeye is the most delicious.
See, I don't like ribeye though. I think
I
it's
like
a little fat in your meat, dude.
It's all steak. Is it not all steak?
Well, you need a little fat. The fat is what makes it taste good.
Hold on. We're gonna get you meant Stenhouse, by the way. So it wasn't just
Wreck House.
You meant Stenhouse. We'll get to Stenhouse in a little bit. Though.
You had to derail our steak conversation. I mean, this was really gaining some momentum, Rubio, and then you just came in and said, "No, I'm a vegan. I refuse to talk about cows on this show."
Definitely
no, he's not a vegan because he thinks the best chicken sandwich in the world is from B-Dubs.
Oh God! Like fried and grilled, or what?
Oh, fried.
I don't even want to go back to you. To be honest with you, would just want to take the rest of the show off, buddy.
He
Come with a better
always posts
take
the
next year.
picture so proud too. Like he'll post it at B-Dubs. Like, look how delicious this looks. Like it's just disgusting. You want to puke.
Do you eat steak, Rubio? Seriously?
I love steak.
You what? Like a strip steak, some piece of shit steak?
Oh hell no! God,
you seem like you go to the Outback and you get blooming onions and a steak and like an Outback steak.
I
right?
did a steak the last time at
All right,
Texas
enough of
Steak.
this. Enough. Yeah, horrible take, Rubio. Horrible take. Anyways, did you want to talk about 16 through 20 stats? Because I thought you did a great job.
No, I did. Yeah,
That's what I thought. And they're like, oh, yeah. All right. Like button. Let's do that.
When did you talk? You did talk about it.
Yes, he did.
I just told you the stats.
You
I gave you all the stats,
disaster
and I said,
today, Tony, you changed the format on me.
You
You're
said
not
the
listening to
stats
the
after
stats.
that, though.
You're ratting out Rubio.
Right.
You're not eating steak. It's
You
just
didn't bring him in before that.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. But I jumped in. I got what I needed to get out there.
Act like it all went well, Tony. Just roll with it.
Outback is terrible. What does that mean?
I haven't eaten in an Outback in like 20 years.
How is Outback terrible?
Well, I don't know. What is it good?
I mean, it's not bad.
All right, let me just tell you this. And this is not like most of your expensive steakhouses are just not worth the money.
Yeah,
you will get a better steak. It's the one meal I could cook at home.
Capital
I could buy a really good
Grill.
steak.
Capital
Yeah,
Grill.
they're fine. Like some of
Different
the
level.
I cannot tell you how many
really that
expensive
much better than
steakhouses I've eaten
Outback?
at.
Yeah.
For the price, you pay $250 a person for dinner, and you're like,
Yeah.
I could have made this whole meal at home.
Or gone to Outback and paid $25.
And Outback or like Texas Roadhouse.
There's
and get
no
$25
way
steak.
Texas Roadhouse is as tasty as Capital Grill. This is ridiculous.
No.
You sound like you're from
It's
Daytona
not.
right now. Like a big
It's
night
not.
out is eating at Steak and Shake.
It's not, but for the price, the value that you're getting is way better than a lot. I can't tell you how many top end, high end steak in New York City, including Peter Lou's, which has kind of hit the wall. Right? Depends on the day.
Betting stats. This is not where you go for the value. You go for the taste.
Oh,
I don't care about value when it comes to
I get
steak.
it. But I could buy a great piece of meat home and cook it, as opposed to going to a restaurant that's going to cook me something that I don't know how to make at home. I'd much rather spend the $200 to $300 per person at a non-steakhouse. But when you go out with the boys, it's always a steakhouse because that's what everybody wants.
But not Rubio. Not Rubio.
No, he just wants the B-Dub chicken sandwich.
That's it.
He's good with that.
Get a beat. Do they have steak at B-Dubs?
No, they don't have steak at B-Dubs.
The younger generation's all about wings, guys. Just get with the wings.
All right, good stuff. Good times. 21 through 25, Rubio. Right back at you, buddy. Ross Chastain, Haley, Jimmy Johnson, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Priest. Like I was saying before, Bubba wins. It'll shut down the internet. What do they say about the internet? Whatever Kardashian. Yeah, it'll break the internet. That's what'll happen. Talk to me here. What are we doing with this range?
Yeah, I mean, Chastain and Bubba Wallace are two guys, 22 and 20 to 1 to win this one. They're obviously going to be decent plays. Chastain obviously has a little bit of a tendency to kind of get himself in the mix. You know, I don't love that about him, especially if he's right next to Denny Hamlin. Expect some fireworks. But I do like Chastain a little bit. I don't hate Justin Haley. Like, Justin Haley's a guy where, I don't know, he just seems always so solid to me. And I know that starting 22nd, it's not the most appetizing play in the world, but someone that I can get a little bit on board with. I won't go extremely overweight or anything like that, but maybe I have this ownership projection even just a bit too high because he's not going to have that name recognition that even like Chastain or Jimmy Johnson might have a lot of name recognition here. And I don't love Jimmy Johnson. Like, I just don't. He's starting in that middle of the pack, and it's tough, Like, he races like a couple of times a year and crashes out early, it seems. I think I played him last year, and it didn't work out so well. And I just think there's better plays behind him. Like Bubba Wallace. I love Bubba Wallace starting at 24th because I know that he's got the great car to get inside the top 10. He's a good sticker plate racer. And ultimately, like if he's just able to get in the top 10 and starting 24th, he has a great chance of being optimal. And I think that is very close to what he can do. And I think he has the potential to win it. Anyone does. You're going to keep hearing that. But Bubba Wallace is definitely my favorite in the range, followed by Chastain. And I'm underweight on Jimmy Johnson for sure.
All right, stats. By the way, Paul Goebel, it is an unofficial holiday, but it is a holiday 1 month after Valentine's Day, Steak and BJ Day. It is March 14th. So you should celebrate this year, Rubio. It'll be great to get your first. Anyway, stats. What about this range? 21 to 25.
Yeah, if I had to pick, so my five driver range to win, it would be in here because I like Bubba Wallace.
Okay,
and I mean I know, Justin Haley's a long shot as well, but I'm taking. I already bet. I'll be putting it out there. Bubba Wallace and Haley. I just like the price on both of those guys, so I think we can get the winner come out of this group. Now Haley's won here like 3 times. I think he did once. He won on the Cup with the Cups, and I think that was a weather issue, but look, he won, and I think he's won at some of the lower in the lower what do you call it? Like Xfinity, or he's won here before. So, but he's had success here. A lot of these guys are pretty good at plate racing. I think Bubba Wallace, to me, he's won at Talladega. They don't necessarily correlate all that well, but still a super speedway. He seems to always be in contention here. He's going to have the equipment. There's a lot of push for Bubba to kind of be that guy. There was the Netflix show that was out, and sort of seemed like he was the main character on that show. So I think there's going to be a lot of push for Bubba Wallace. Doesn't mean he necessarily gets in there, but I think he's got the equipment. He knows how to drive at this track and in super speedways. He always seems at some point to be up near the top. And I think, I certainly like him to win. I think Jimmy Johnson looked pretty good also the other night in the duels before getting into trouble, and then just barely kind of making it in to this race. So I would not be shocked with all of his experience that Jimmy Johnson gets his way into an optimal lineup. I don't think he wins the race, but he's certainly good enough where he can keep himself clean all race long and then find his way to a top 10. And Ryan Preece has had some success as well at this track. He's got 3 top 10s in Daytona, so there's no reason that he can't do it. So he's sort of been hit or miss. He's not finished in a few of these, but I think all of these guys are definitely playable. So I like all of them, and especially the Toyotas.
All right, Big T, I'm running down the playbook. I just updated it. You are 2/3 of the way through putting your fades, your unders, your cores, your slam, your field. So let's expand it a little bit for you. We'll go from 21 to 30. So in addition to the guys we just talked to, we got Truex in there. We got Josh Berry, who's in that range as well. But just going back to Truex, 34 career wins, 0 for 19 at Daytona, second place in 2016. Been a little while, but what do you want to do with this next 10?
Yeah, I think some of these ownerships too are interesting. Like if Truex is actually going to come in like 30%, I think he's a pretty bad play, honestly, at that percentage. He just hasn't been that good here. I don't love him. He does have some good teammates in the race, just looking at it. I mean, you always got that going for him and stuff, but I don't love him. I do love the Bubba play with these guys, though. He's close to a core play for me. Maybe one of them, I want to do one core in like the 20s, and then the other one's probably in the 30s, but Bubba's close. So I'm with these guys for sure on him. I also always love Chastain just because, like my boy did Friday night, I mean, he can wreck the whole lot and go to the front. So I like guys like that at Daytona. So 21 to 25, I'm highest on Bubba, Chastain, and then Preece. I like Preece a decent amount too in that range. Jimmy Johnson, I mean, that's another percentage. I don't, there's no way he's going to be 20%. I don't think, at least his odds are higher than I would think, but I have to play a little Jimmy. I mean, I could see him easily driving to the front. I mean, he's won here, I'm sure 2, 3, 4 times. Do we know exactly? I don't know how many times. I know he's won at least 2 or 3 times. He's one of the best ever. I mean, he can easily ride Daytona, even if whatever Rubio nonsense he was spewing about crashing last year. He can easily drive to the front. And I mean, if he is 20%, then I probably want to be under. But if he's like 10%, I want to be over. I want like 15% Jimmy Johnson type thing. So depends on what he comes in owned. And then the next range, I don't like Haley either. Haley's a guy I want to be under on for sure. And then that next range, 26 to 30, Gralla, definitely going to be. Gralla might be the worst play in all of the 20s. I should just fade him, honestly. I can't see a world where he ends up winning. He's going to be lower owned, though. I mean, you just never know at Daytona. You can play everyone if you want. I want to be under or fade him. Same with Allmendinger, too, honestly. I don't love him here. So those are the guys I don't like as much. Corey LaJoie and Josh Berry, though, starting 29th and 30th. I love these two guys. I mean, I think both of them could win. Both could drive up front. I love both of those guys. So I guess I'm a little lower on the 26 to 30 range just because of Gralla, Dinger, even Truex. I want to be a little bit under or field on. So I think I'm lower on that, higher on the 21 to 25. But love LaJoie, love Josh Berry down there, 29 and 30.
Jimmy Johnson, 2-time Daytona 500.
2-time?
2006 and 2013.
Holy cow, he's old. Oh, he's dust. Oh, wait, it's the same complaints you were talking about Volk last night. You know, going against Volk, he's dust. And you're going to go to Jimmy Johnson.
I don't need him to go out there and fight for me. He can just drive his car.
That's very true.
All right, Rubio, you got any Gralla, Truex, Allmendinger, LaJoie, or Josh Berry?
Yeah, Truex, I want to say it's been bad luck. So I feel like I jam Truex because he always starts in the back of some of these super speedways. But, you know, he's got great odds. He's got the best odds in this 20s range, basically. And that includes, like, Chastain and Bubba Wallace. He's 20 to 1. So Truex is going to be a guy where he's got potential to easily get inside top 10, top 5, start 27th. I mean, it's just back there, right? It's ultimately just really easy for him to maybe stumble into the one, right? He just needs to keep it clean. I think he can keep it clean. He has certainly the talent to do it. Just don't want him to get caught up in those back of the pack wrecks. And he's going to be the guy I'm highest on. The same with, Big T was talking about Kaz Gralla at 5,600 and stuff. You know, not that price matters here at all, but yeah, Kaz, he barely got in by the skin of his teeth there in the duel. Has barely made it into this race. I don't love the upside in that car relative to others in this range, but again, it's going to be low owned. You don't need a ton to get on him, but ultimately, if I'm doing single entry and 3 entry max stuff, Kaz Gralla is not on my radar. But Allmendinger and LaJoie and those guys, I can kind of be a little bit interested in. Allmendinger, he's just a good racer. You know, obviously we love him on road courses and stuff, but he's been decent on super speedways. Starting far enough back, like literally everyone starting from Truex and back, I am going to be heavy on for the most part. Allmendinger and LaJoie maybe just a little less. Like I'll be even with the field. But every single one of these guys moving, like as we keep moving further in the pack, are going to be just awesome plays. But Truex and I know, do you want me to include Josh Berry here? Josh Berry into that Kevin Harvick ride. It's the experience thing, but he's starting far enough back to where 30th. He's okay in my book. It's not like Hosfar, Nemechek, or St. Smith. We get him starting at 30th, Josh Berry, that is. So I'm fine with him there.
But you stats, let's get going here with this next tier, 25 to 30, and then I'll have Tony take it the rest of the way home. How many guys are we rostering in this range?
I mean, historically, 20% of the optimal play or optimal drivers have come out of this range from 26 to 30. So, I mean, this is where you really start looking at guys that you want to take. I like Truex as a bet here. I like the price on Truex. The Toyotas, we've been talking about that. Toyotas have looked strong. So I think Truex now, who has not historically done well here, I think with more Toyotas in the race, which we didn't talk about, Jimmy Johnson with Legacy. So we've got a few more Legacy cars with the Toyota. So I think Toyotas have kind of balanced that out a little bit. because you really want to have both your teammates and manufacturers in races like this so that you can kind of team up with late. So I think Truex will have a little bit more help. He looked good in the duels as well. So I think Truex is going to contend here. You've got Allmendinger, who's just a really good super speedway specialist, who I think easily has a chance to top 10. LaJoie as well. I think LaJoie is a good bet. Also to win, if you're looking for a long shot play, I like taking a stab at LaJoie. Been really good at the super speedways. I think he's got four top 10s in his last in 9 starts at Daytona. So easily a guy who's going to get you up in the optimal lineup. And Josh Berry, Kaz Grala, you're going to play. Berry's is taking over for Harvick, and really just no matter what the name is at this point, from this point down, is certainly an MME. You're going to have pieces of those guys. So Berry and Grala, less than the other 3 that I just mentioned, but definitely want to have some pieces of them.
All right. Like button would be wonderful. We'd love that. Let's see here. $20 a week, $60 a month for our racing package here at RPS. Make sure you get in. You can get all our guys' cores. So everybody from Stats to JVC to Rubio to Big T and others, Matty Ice throwing their cores in there for you. You can get all their plays. You can get a playbook. You can get strategery. And of course, in our Discord, get in the NASCAR Discord and ask our insiders and our experts and our analysts exactly what you want to know. Hey guys, what do you think about Ricky Stenhouse Jr.? One of our guys will get back to you too. Maybe multiple. Maybe they'll yell at each other. It'll be very entertaining. So here we go, Tony. And I know you got your course up there on the playbook right now, and there's a couple that are going to go from 30 to 40. Can you start this breakdown of the final racers that we're going to talk about with Kyle Busch? 63 career wins, 0 for 18 at Daytona. Did finish second back in 2019, but I think you like him, right?
Yeah, I mean the back of the party is where it's at, and that's why I brought up the part at the beginning where you need to force in the Millie Maker. I'm only talking Millie Maker, not single entry, not anything else. Strictly the Millie Maker on DraftKings. You got to do something to be slightly different just to get you unique, which is why I was saying play one guy in the top 20 or even 2 in that 16 to 20 range type thing. Where, because everyone, it's so easy to come in here and see these plays. I mean, these plays are incredible. Gilliland, Blaney and Kyle Busch are literally favorites to win the race starting in the 30s. So obviously they're great plays. These other guys are all good plays. I mean, David Reagan starting 40th. I love him. I mean, teammate of Kaz, he runs good here. I mean, just great plays. I can't pick holes in any of these guys. So it's easy just to come in and just slam friggin' 6 of these guys in the 30s, take all your upside, take your floor, blah, blah, blah. But if you want to win a Millie Maker, I have a hard time seeing a Millie Maker winner just being all guys in the back. You're going to need a little bit of luck on your side. You're going to need that. So if you truly want to give yourself a shot at the Millie, you just got to set a rule or just force yourself to play maybe one in the top 20, one between 20 and 30, and then 4 down in the 30s or something to that effect, whatever you feel comfortable with. But to simplify it even more, if you're in single entry, you want to build the best teams. I mean, live in this range. All these guys are good plays. You can nitpick a few of them. Like, I don't love Hemrick and Herbst. I mean, I don't love those guys, but I mean, they're starting so far back. I mean, there's nothing you can say against any of these guys. So my favorites are going to be obviously Blaney and Kyle Busch, just because they're incredible drivers in the 30s. They're going to race to win, which is good and bad. I mean, like Kyle Busch, chalk. I don't know anyone in the field that wants to win more and could finish dead last more than Kyle Busch. So he's going to be very popular. I mean, starting that far back, he's got to be 40, 50% owned. Same with Blaney. What do you do with them? Maybe you group them apart. That could be one way. You play one of those two or something like that, because most are going to play both. You got to pick and choose the little stuff, but I mean, I have no issue with anyone in this range. They're all great plays. I want to be 3 or 4 of these guys, though, more so than 6. Just in the Millie Maker, not in the other stuff.
All right, Rubio, let's talk about it. Everybody here likes the back end of the race. So who's your favorite?
Oh, man. Where do I start? I think let's just start in the back. Let's start at 40, right? David Reagan. I think he's my favorite just because when you're starting in the very back and you're a decent plate racer and you can just creep your way into the top 20, you're going to be a great play, right? I do think he has upside for more or whatever, but he's just the safest one. But if you're talking about just pure upside to win, I mean, what we just saw Ricky Stenhouse win, right? And Kyle Busch is back there. You got Ryan Blaney. My favorite, though, is Kyle Busch. And it seems like he always starts in the back at Daytona. It just feels like he is always there, and I always play him. It's a yearly tradition at this point that I play Kyle Busch, and he wrecks somewhere later on in the race. But what if he doesn't wreck? That's something that I got to ask myself. If he doesn't wreck, he's going to be optimal. I just think it's as simple as that. And it's the same with all these guys, and that obviously that's what makes it risky, and it makes what Daytona. That's what people say. Oh, it's like a lottery and stuff. Well, here's a lottery here. I mean, for a fact if Kyle Busch doesn't crash, he's likely optimal. You can say the same thing about Stenhouse and Blaney. That sounds like a pretty damn good lottery ticket to me, and especially in single entries and stuff. Just jam.
The flip side, though, Rubio, not to fully interrupt. The flip side is, though, you could do the same thing and say you want to fade them. And literally, if they crash at any point, they're not in the winner. So it goes both ways.
Correct. But at the same time, you can't say the same about, let's just pick out
anyone up top. Yeah.
You can't say the same about Kyle Larson. If Kyle Larson keeps it clean, there's still a chance he's not in the optimal, right? But if these guys keep it clean, they will. And that I know that I'm just kind of talking in circles real quick, but Austin Dillon, great racer. I think 40-1 is also very, very far. I just think that he has enough talent. I mean, he's done it before, right? You got Ryan Blaney, 11-1. Kyle Busch, 12-1. These are guys who just don't need to even win. But Riley Herbst and stuff, I want to talk about these low racers. Riley Herbst did really well last year. And yes, we did have that comment here in a Stuart Haas prepped car by BD3. Riley Herbst has enough talent. He kept it clean 1 year. I think he can do it again. 90-1. Don't have to have win equity there. Just have to get me into the top 15 at that rate. Daniel Hemrick, unlucky with the crash in the duels, but good enough racer to make it happen. Gragson, great racer, great talent. Hopefully that this year goes better for him, but you have pros on every single one of these guys. The only ones I don't really have a pro on is Anthony Alfredo, where he's okay, but he's starting 39, so it don't matter. And I know it's a little bit of a lottery and stuff, but you have a better chance of, at least in single entries and 3-entry max, of finding the right lottery numbers here in the back.
All right. Stats, you want to bring it up here? We'll run through that. I want to talk to you about some bets too. Play of the day as well, and then we'll get out of here. So what are we doing at the back end?
Yeah, so I mean, almost 60% of these drivers here in the 30s plus are going to make their way into the or have made their way into the optimal lineup. So obviously, this is what we're looking at. If you're a cash player, go into SaberSim and just select the guys from 30 on, and then run the optimizer and play a bunch of those lineups in cash. So that's kind of how you play cash for these things. But for GPPs, listen, the guys I mean, Blaney, you have to like Blaney at the super speedways and starting at the position that he's starting. He's going to be owned because of it. All right. So we're looking at fairly high ownership. I think the strategy has to be, if you're an MME player, or certainly if you're playing in the big GPPs and you're playing one lineup, 5 lineups, 20 lineups, you've got to figure out where you're going to be able to fade some of these guys. I think you have to, even if you're playing at 150, and by fade, I mean, 35% instead of 50% of these guys. They can't be a total fade. You're looking to wipe out your whole day. But I think you need to just be underweight some of the top guys on the back, and then overweight some of the other guys, the lesser guys like a Herbst, a Hemrick. I think I bet Herbst for the duel. He was looking really good for us early. I didn't expect him necessarily to win, but I think the price was right with Herbst, and he's had some success. He's had 2 top 10s at super speedways in recently running here. So I think you have a shot there. Gragson, I think, is going to be a guy that you maybe want to be a little overweight on as well. Hemrick, listen, I don't love Alfredo, but I wouldn't mind being overweight any of the guys at the back who are going to be lower owned. And I think Alfredo will probably be the lowest owned of these guys, along with maybe Hemrick. And then Reagan's a guy I'm seeing a lot of people like. I'm on board with that as well. So I don't mind lifting these guys up into the 20 to 30% range, maybe, if you're playing MME, and then dropping some of the other guys who are going to be like 50 down to the 35 to 40% range, and then hoping that you can get some wrecks maybe out of those guys, and then you'll if one of those guys makes it, hopefully you could pair them up with the right guy here at the bottom who is not going to be as owned, and find your way to the millie.
All right, very good. Let's do some bets. Let's do play of the day. Remind everybody, like button would be wonderful. Join the team here. We got our All-Star game coverage for the NBA All-Star game. Obviously, so much going on with the Daytona 500. We'll have hockey, little NHL shows coming up over the next few days, and our golf team has just been smashing it as well. So stats, just a real quick primer. How do you bet the Daytona 500, and give us a play or two?
Well, you put all the names in a hat, and then you pick them out.
Pick them out.
And then you put a bet on it. I mean, that's basically how
you
bet Daytona. Yeah. So, yeah, it's really tough to be sharp on Daytona for all the reasons that we just talked about for the last hour and change, because it can be a bit of a crapshoot. So that's why the one thing I think that is sharp is kind of avoiding the chalkier plays, which aren't all that chalk that we mentioned before. I mean, the biggest favorite in here is Hamlin at plus 800. I think you have to kind of avoid that. You avoid Logano at plus 900. I'm not really looking at anybody to bet until I get to like the plus 1800. I like Truex. I'm looking for plus 2000 or better. I like Bubba Wallace here at the plus 2000. I think you can go down to a LaJoie at plus 3500. I like that play. I mean, if you like Stenhouse is either going to be is either going to wreck or he may be in contention. I'm not going to take a shot with Stenhouse, but I can see where some people would like that at 3500. But I mentioned earlier Justin Haley at plus 8,000. I mean, it's a guy towards the bottom. You want to take a lottery ticket plus 8,000, throw $100 on it. I mean, it could make for a really nice Monday. And so I like those guys, and I like, I'm kind of focused on with the main drivers on some of the Toyota guys with Bubba and Truex. Someone mentioned, Martin Mondays. They're Martin Truex Mondays, basically. I think he's won. I don't know. I don't have the exact number. He's won quite a few, like 4 or 5 races on Monday. So we'll see if that holds true for tomorrow. But I like them going in, and I think having more Toyotas in this race only helps Martin Truex. And I think this could be Truex's race.
Yeah, and you're not, listen, if you're new to betting or you've never bet the Daytona 500, you're not just betting one guy. It's just silly, especially with the numbers, right? Stats. I mean, what were you telling me last night? If the favorite's like 8-1, but I mean, we're getting 50, 60, 70 to 1. It's just asinine to bet one.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when you bet sports like golf and NASCAR, where you're getting these long prices, you got to mix it in with a handful of guys. I mean, you lower your bets. I mean, you're not going to hit an 80-1 shot all that much. So you're not going to bet the same thing you would on an NFL side, let's say. But so you lower the bet a little bit and make it more, more palatable to what your unit size is. But yeah, you've got to sprinkle in like 4 or 5, depending on the race. A race like this, you want like 4 or 5 drivers.
That's it. Just 4 or 5.
Yeah.
All right, Rubio, let's do this, dude. Let's do a little play of the day here. And again, if you're looking for all our guys' cores and you're looking for our playbook and you're looking for the best package in the biz, it's $20 a week, $60 a month. You want to use the code for a monthly plan, RPS15, 15% off your first payment. Let's do it, Rubio. Who are you rostering? Who are you telling everybody to roster?
I'll go outside of my core, and I don't want to make it an obvious one, right? Because everyone's going to do the back-to-back or whatever, and I'm going to go a little bit back, but not that far. Might even steal Big T's, but I love Bubba Wallace. I just think that, starting, 24th there, 20-1 odds to win this race. I just think that he's capable of it, and that's all I want. I want someone capable of winning this race, good equipment, and just hope he keeps it clean, but he's my pick. He's my play of the day.
All right, what do you got, stats?
The play of the day, Bubba was my guy, but let's go with, I do like Bubba. And I gave you Truex as a bet, and I'm going to give you one in the middle as a guy who I think gets there. And I think Justin Haley gets his way into in there. So kind of a guy who won't be as owned. And let's go with Justin Haley.
All right, Tony, let's go, dude. Who you got your eyes on? Who you want to give out? You're on mute.
The whole show without mute, and then I go on free. Someone put me on mute. My kids must have been loud. Which one?
Did you do that, Rubio? You did it, didn't you?
Did you set me up, Rubio?
No, I swear I didn't. No.
I might have actually clicked.
You had to have, because I didn't. Rubio didn't.
I had to blame someone because I was on mute. I had to try to blame Rubio.
Yeah, nice try.
My favorite bet to win and my favorite core play is Corey LaJoie, 35-1 to win the race, starting 29. So he's just a little bit further up than the guys in the 30s. And I liked him all of last year. Like, he just raced good. He's got good history in these places. I love Corey LaJoie. So he'd be my favorite play and my favorite bet at 35-1.
Ooh. All right. Very good, guys. It was great hanging out, doing our first NASCAR show of the year. We do have every single sport you can imagine here at RPS. So let me let you also know what's coming up. We got our hat trick show at 10 a.m. on Monday morning. So before Daytona, it'll be Wiley, Saul, and Maddie doing their show. Love Maddie Ice's hockey content. And then a PGA preview coming up Monday as well. The NBA will not return until Thursday. These guys get a lot of time off
today when we do this All-Star show to give people some winners for the All-Star game.
We're going to give some, what time? What time's that at?
That I don't know yet,
All
but
right.
like always, we're going to throw it on there and we're going to go give some winners.
All right. So you'll get some All-Star game content.
There is huge edge. I know people laugh at me when I say this, and I'm fine. People laugh at me for other stuff. I think the edge in the All-Star game is massive, and I'll say it on the show, but I don't know if it's going to be free or premium, so I'm not going to say it right now. But I think there's clear-cut edges to give us a chance, and the prize pool's huge. Because there's nothing going tonight now. There's hardly anything going tonight. So you're going to want to check that out. JSU will be on. I don't know who else will be on, but we'll get some NBA winners for the people and enjoy an All-Star game. And don't bet the under like Holden.
I did not bet the under. And the under has actually gone from 364.5 to 358. So it was obviously inflated. Go bet the over now. And then you guys, I'm going to tell you right now, don't play in DFS. Don't play Jokic. Don't play Luka. It's not a Euro bias. It's just fact. These guys do not give a shit about the All-Star game. It's as simple as that. Rubio, good to see you, pal. Stats, thanks again for showing up. Tony, it was actually good to see you on a Sunday morning. You know, I can say that. I can admit it. Yeah, good talk. Good times. Like button on the way out. Thanks for checking out our Daytona 500 show. For the boys, I'm Holden, and keep running pure.